My name is Linda. I've been married to my husband, George, for almost 2 years now. I'm currently pregnant with our long-awaited first child. Just hearing this, you might imagine that I'm living a blissful, smooth-sailing married life. I met my husband at a social gathering. It's only natural that I, who was once a plain and unsatisfying woman, would be drawn to him, who said with a gentile smile, "You have a modest and comforting aura." I believed that with him, I could build a happy family. As a wife, I decided to do my best in both my work and household chores. Yet, for some reason, my husband often seemed irritable. At first, I thought it was because of my job. Both my husband and I are corporate employees. Whenever I worked overtime, he would be in a bad mood the next day, sighing and saying, "I had to make do with ready meal yesterday. There was no hot water, so I just took a shower and nearly caught a cold." Feeling sorry that he had waited for me, I suggested, "Next time, feel free to eat something else first. Don't worry about the hot water, you can take a bath. I'll be fine with just a shower." But he scolded me, saying, "What's that? Do as you please. You make me suffer because of your overtime." The happiest he had been since our marriage was when I told him about my pregnancy. His face lit up instantly, and he joyfully said, "Well done. It's about time." I thought his moodiness must have been because he was eagerly awaiting a child. Perhaps he was secretly being pressured by his parents for a grandchild. I hardly had any contact with my in-laws. My husband seemed to be the one dealing with all their requests. Believing this, I looked forward to our future happiness. "I'm sure your parents will be delighted too," I said. "Huh? Oh, yeah. I'll let them know," he replied. But his happiness was short-lived. Once again, the days of his moodiness began. As the end of the year approached and my morning sickness worsened, I had to take time off from work. My husband suggested, "Let's skip going to my parents' house for New Year's." We used to visit his parents' home together, but this time he thought it was better for me to rest at home. I agreed with his proposal, and he seemed pleased. Actually, I had planned a family trip for the end of the year. Canceling now would mean paying a cancellation fee. And my mom was looking forward to it. "Sorry, but you'll have to sit this one out," he said. It was supposed to be our first family trip. Even though I was pregnant and my husband should have told his parents, I received no reaction from them. I wanted to join to tell them directly. "You wouldn't want to feel sick during the trip, right?" "Right, I understand. Please give my regards to your parents," I replied. That was all I could say. A few days later, he left for the trip with a large suitcase. Spending New Year's alone was lonely. In an attempt to cheer myself up, I decided to visit the nearby cake shop. I could eat my favorite jelly as much as I wanted. It was essentially binge eating. "Oh, isn't that Linda?" As I was leaving the store, I recognized the voice calling out to me. It was my mother-in-law. Wait, wasn't she supposed to be on a trip? "I heard we wouldn't be doing New Year's visit this year, and I was worried about your health. But seeing you out and about like this is a relief," she said, concerned about my condition. She was apparently on her way to our apartment. She said with a giggle, "Linda, you like the cakes from here, right?" I just picked something at random for George. I was utterly confused by her cheerful demeanor. Mom, what about the trip?" "Oh, that. I started a part-time job recently and was asked to switch shifts unexpectedly. But George had gifted us a parents-only spa trip. So I contacted the inn and postponed it by a week." "A parents-only spa trip? What does that mean?" "George was supposed to be on a trip." To uncover the truth, I took out my phone. I called George and switched to speakerphone. "Linda? What's up? How's the trip? Enjoying it?" "Yeah, I'm having a great time with my parents." My mother-in-law, standing in front of me, was shocked but gestured for silence with a "Shh. Mom is here with me right now, you know?" Silence followed. Then I heard rustling and a young woman's voice asking, "Babe, who are you talking to?" "Your wife." "Damn, why is this happening? I was supposed to be on a trip." "Hey, Linda. Don't tell my parents, all right? It's embarrassing to admit your husband's cheating, especially for a coward like you. He didn't seem to realize the speakerphone was on. The mocking laughter of a man and a woman came through the phone. Just make up some excuse that I'm still out, George said before ending the call. I felt a wave of nausea and instinctively covered my mouth. My mother-in-law gently stroked my back. Without her support, I probably would have obeyed my husband out of fear of displeasing his parents. But she comforted me, saying, "It's the cheating man who's at fault. Such a kind woman couldn't possibly dislike me." This realization gave me the courage to take a step forward. Accompanied by my mother-in-law, I returned home and decided to understand the situation fully. It turned out that my in-laws didn't know about my pregnancy. They were told I couldn't visit due to ill health. I was told not to contact them much because the pressure of being the eldest son's wife was the cause. When I confessed that I thought they disliked me, she laughed. "That's impossible. Linda, you are our dear daughter-in-law. We're genuinely happy about the grandchild." Her words made me burst into tears, and she comforted me while grumbling about George. "As much as he's my son, he's the worst. It's not something I can apologize for, but I want to say it. I'm truly sorry. It's odd for a mother to ask, but what do you want to do now?" "I'm on your side, Linda," she said gently. I told her, I want a divorce. His infidelity. His lies. His constant irritable attitude. Everything overwhelmed me, and I simply thought, I can't do this anymore. What had I been relying on in this marriage? For what reason had I been enduring it? I just didn't know anymore. "I understand. Leave it to me, you rest a bit," my mother-in-law said, putting me to bed before leaving, saying she had preparations to make. George returned home the next day at noon. Although he was supposed to stay for a few more days, he probably came back early just in case. I gripped my cell phone tightly in my hand. My enjoyable trip was ruined because of you. You haven't exposed me, have you? If you do, it's divorce. Divorce. Being divorced after being cheated on by your husband, that's just adding insult to injury, George sneered. Since when? Why did you cheat? Chloe is a colleague who joined the company last year. Unlike you, she's sweet and not nagging. When I told her you didn't do housework because of overtime, she got all upset, saying it's wrong to prioritize work over house chores. She's a really understanding woman, that Chloe, he said, comparing me to his affair partner. But strangely, by the next day, it didn't matter to me anymore. It seemed that my love for him had worn away without me noticing. I sighed and operated my phone. I stopped the recording, stood up, and opened the door to my room. "Mom, the recording is okay," I reported with a smile, and she turned to my father-in-law who had been hiding in the room, saying, "Well done, Linda. Now it's our turn." As his parents emerged from my room, George's eyes widened in shock. "What? Why are you two here?" "Linda, you tricked me." "Oh, you're the one who tricked us." Planning a trip for cheating and even arranging a spa trip for us, everything was prepared, wasn't it? What, cheating? What are you talking about? I heard everything from Linda's conversation with you on speakerphone yesterday. Being cheated on is a disgrace. The one who cheats is the lowest. You stupid son. His mother scolded. George bit his lip and glared at me. It's all Linda's fault. Using work as an excuse to neglect taking care of me, and when I have to do things myself, she doesn't even appreciate it. Telling me to bathe first, like she's giving me permission? Criticizing me, the worst kind of wife. What? Why should I, a man, do housework? A wife should quietly let her husband rest. Oh, George, come on. I got fed up and consulted Chloe. She said women focus on their kids once they have them. I was relieved you still had some womanly qualities. But once you got pregnant, it was all morning sickness. It made me feel sick too, it's just unbelievable. He was happy about the pregnancy because he thought I'd focus on the child? Not because we were having a child? It's like you're treating the child like a tool. I was shocked. The betrayal as a woman was one thing, but the fact that someone I once loved could treat life so callously hurt me the most. His mother's slap landed on George's cheek. She was crying. "George, come on." I placed my hand on her trembling shoulder, and his father fixed his gaze on my husband. Under his stern gaze, my husband showed a look of fear for the first time. "When did you become like this, Dad? I wanted to be like you. You never did housework, and Mom never complained or made demands like Linda does. Your mother was a homemaker and always at home. But I did what I could. I never left everything to her." I learned later that his father was indeed bad at housework and banned from the kitchen. Instead, he responded to his wife's requests through DIY. The custom shelves at their house were all made by him. George must have seen it but chose to ignore it. Even if I was a male chauvinist, how does that justify neglecting a pregnant wife? To use the life of our child, my grandchild, as a distraction from your affair? His father muttered in dismay. "So, it's all Linda's fault. Marrying her was the mistake." At this point, George was yelling like a child. Something in me snapped. "Excuse me? You're the one at fault, you lowest of the low." My spontaneous outburst left everyone speechless. It was the first time I had ever yelled at George. What's wrong with being sick morning to night? I'm pregnant. You should be caring, you worst kind of husband, man, and human being. Embarrassed about being divorced? Bring it on. I'll divorce you or whatever else it takes. I think I yelled enough for a lifetime. After that, the divorce went smoothly since I had recorded George's confession of his affair. I received a settlement of $20,000 and child support from my ex-husband, and the property division was completed. The affair partner, upon seeing the demand for damages, tried to play innocent, claiming, "I didn't know he had a wife." But when told that George had confessed everything, she became irate and said, "How dare a woman who's been dumped by her husband act so high and mighty?" I had become much stronger. Not even an apology, and you have the nerve, I thought, refusing to reduce the $15,000 claim. She came to her senses and apologized, but I naturally refused. My ex-husband asked the affair partner to cover his alimony, but since he lost my income, he couldn't even afford the rent for the apartment and was struggling to pay his own alimony, so she refused. In an act of spite, Chloe, the affair partner, spread rumors at work claiming that she was troubled by being pursued by my ex-husband. Apparently, this led to him being completely shunned by his colleagues. However, it eventually came to light that the affair partner herself was involved with several men within the company. One of these men was the son of a high-ranking executive, and before the rumors could spread any further, she was fired. My ex-husband was disowned by his parents and became uncomfortable at his job. He seemed to think that reconciling with me would change his situation. When he sought to reconcile, I firmly rejected him, saying, "No. Marrying you was a mistake. I won't repeat the same mistake ever again. I've changed my phone number, so there's no more contact. Now, I'm looking forward to starting anew and living a wonderful life with my unborn child."